Okay, welcome everybody. Baruch Hashem, we are here at Living Chassidus, and I want to give a shout out to everybody who, well, let's see how many of them, but whoever took time to come out instead of took a little break from cleaning, or whatever, preparing for your Pesach plans, to come and join us. And we wanted to dafka do a Pesach shir in time before everybody left. So that's why we're doing it now. And I wanted to say that today we want to do today's shir Leilei Nishmas for Miriam Bas Eliyahu. She should have the highest aliyas and neshama, and her family should have comfort and be reunited with her right now with Mashiach. Let's go from this shir to straight to Yerushalayim. Send you back to Israel.
But you're all coming with me.
Exactly. Okay, so tonight, the topic for tonight is Pesach through the Chassidus Lens, which is so up Living Chassidus' alley because our logo, as many of you know, is glasses with Hashem Echad on them. So our goal at Living Chassidus is to learn Chassidus in such a way that we're able to see the world through Hashem's glasses, through Hashem's perspective. So we're so lucky. Sheli has been such an incredible friend of Living Chassidus for so many years. And one second. There we go. Sheli is the director of Jewish Education Initiative at Chabad Learning Foundation, which is a chinuch nonprofit organization for early childhood women and seniors. So I was getting to the seniors part. I'm getting there. Sheli grew up in Israel and she moved to the United States in 2001. And currently she lives in New York. She has a BA in psychology and experience in business and directing, advising early childhood preschool centers and programs. Sheli also has an MS in early childhood and special education. She is passionate about and involved in educating children and women in the light of Chassidus. Sheli promotes educational initiatives for Chabad Learning Foundation and works with individual children at Magen David Early Childhood Center. And Sheli is famous at Living Chassidus for being the best. So thank you so much, Sheli.
I'll make it one sentence next time. I realized that it's more than one sentence. Okay, everyone. I'm sorry you had to wait for a few minutes, but hopefully we'll make it worthwhile. It's nice to be here right before Pesach when nobody has time, and we still make time to learn because I feel like it makes the whole Pesach experience and every holiday or any life moment more real and more valuable when you learn before. And because I was flying to Israel and coming back and there was so much going on, I didn't have so much time to, like, before we speak, I usually try to like bring a lot of stories. And I said, that's also, from Hashem. And there's a reason for that. And then I started to think about Pesach for myself, what it means. And in the past few years, because I became a Bala Tshuva, Pesach took a very big turn for me because I really experienced a very meaningful Pesach in Crown Heights a few years ago. And since that Pesach, I always liked Pesach as a child, but it was different because I didn't come from a religious family. And in Israel, Pesach was like, there were certain snacks and certain things that they only had for Pesach. They had like these Gebrux cookies that I used to like, but that was Pesach for me as a child. But then growing, being in Crown Heights and becoming a Bala Tshuva and through Chabad, and you experience Pesach very differently. So I was thinking, like, what does Pesach mean? Like, what does it mean for us? Like, what is the preparation before Pesach? And there's so many preparations, but what is the inner preparations that we really need to take in consideration? So I always like to look at the Rebbe's father, Levi Yitzchak's teachings, because he was a Kabbalist, and he looked at things in a very, very deep way, and he has very interesting stories. So I looked at what he was talking about Pesach, and yeah, it could be because it's like inside. Maybe I need to open it a little more. Yeah, I know why. No, it was inside. Okay, ask him now. Is it better now? Yes. Yeah, better. Yeah, I had a feeling when I put it in. Okay, so there was a section where he was talking really about the people, like the money situation that people have. And I was like thinking about it, and I said, okay, there was a very interesting story that he was talking about regarding the korbanot. And there was, he said that there was a king. His name was Agrippus, I think, the way he wrote it. And he was the king at the end of Beit Sheni, of the second Beit HaMikdash. And he told the Kohen that he doesn't want anybody bringing korbanos. He wants to be like Shlomo HaMelech and bring the most korbanot in one day. So he decided that that specific day that he's going to bring the korbanot, that he's going to bring the sacrifices. Nobody else should bring sacrifices. So that's what the Kohen did. And then anybody who wanted to bring korbanos, he just said, you can't. The king wants to be the one bringing korbanos. So he said, okay. And then there was one poor man that came and he said, look, I know I can't bring korbanos if the king doesn't want to, but you have to listen to me. He said, every day I bring 4 birds, 2 I bring as a korban, and 2 is I sell. And that's the way I make my parnasa. If I don't bring korbanos, I'm not going to have parnasa. So the Kohen was thinking, and he let him bring the korbanos. And then the king didn't know about it because he didn't tell him. And then he brought his korbanos. And then at that night, the king had a dream. And he dreamed that the poor man, his korban was accepted before his. So he came to the Kohen the next day and he asked him if he let anybody else bring a korban. And he told him yes. And he told him the story about the poor man. And he said, you did well. And that's it. And, you would think that the king would be upset. And then I was also thinking, why isn't the king upset? And then Rabbi Levi Yitzchak explains. He goes into into Parashat Vayikra, and he says about the korbanos, the whole situation with the korbanos, and they talk about behema and off and how it brings pleasure to Hashem when somebody brings a korban. And then he says, but somebody who brings solet, which is like the lowest, it's not considered under that category. It's considered, thank you so much, it's considered as if someone ekriv et nafsho, someone gave from their neshama. Yeah, do you want to read the chitas of yesterday? Read it. No? Okay. So it's basically but not everyone did it. We should read it for everyone, but it's okay. The idea is also from that and from the parsha is that when a person brings, when they don't have, it doesn't matter what it is that they bring it with with kiruv nefesh, like meaning you're bringing your last of your last. And that really is what makes Hashem happy. It's even more than nichoach leHashem. It's like as if you gave your neshama to Hashem. And that is like the beauty of really sacrificing yourself and bringing from something that's very hard for you to bring. And I was thinking of all of that in connection to Pesach. And then there was another story that Rabbi Levi Yitzchak brings from Shmuel Rohr. And he used to give a lot of tzedakah. Shmuel Rohr, Sammy Rohr, yeah. So the Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, not Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, the Rebbe brings the story in connection to what his father wrote. So this story is from Rabbi Kotlarsky. He used to call him before every project. What? The Rebbe. Yeah. This is about, yeah. Why? Do you know the story?
I didn't see a story yet. I just.
Oh, you were
saying that the Rebbe said a story about whatever.
Okay, that's what.
And originally I thought that you meant Rabbi Leivik shared the story, and I was really confused.
No, Rabbi Leivik shared the story. Rabbi Leivik brings the story of the poor man bringing the birds, and he talks about the parsha, the idea that when a poor man brings something that he doesn't have, that's from his from his neshama, and Hashem accepts that as if he gave mamash from his soul, and it's in a very high level. All the other korbanos, you see that it says nichoach leHashem, and this one it says as if he sacrificed from himself. And then you see there is a book about Torat Levi Yitzchak, and they bring his teachings about the parshas, and they have also the Rebbe like adds things, and sometimes they add it in the book. I have the new version of it, but whatever it is, it's a story that was said in one of the Itvaduyot or something that was brought as an example. So this story is about the Rohr family, that they always gave money and they always never had a problem to give for projects. And Rabbi Kotlashki used to just call them, and he used to say it himself, that he used to just make a check right away, like meaning for every project that he told them they would support. And then there was a time that it was very difficult financially, the whole world, and he was a little hesitant to call them. So he didn't call him for a long time. And all of a sudden, Rabbi Kuklarski gets a call from him, and he says, "Why aren't you calling me? And did something happen? Are you upset with anything?" And he said, "No, it's just so difficult now. I didn't want to add pressure." And he said, "Why are you worrying to add pressure? Isn't it? That's when it really counts. When you give, when it's harder to give, not when it's easy to give." And I was looking at all this information, and I was thinking to myself that Pesach is, in that sense, is a time for us to really give what's hard for us to give. It's why is it also in connection to Parashat Vayikra, when we're like being called upon? Like, this is the time where you have to really stop yourself, think, what am I not giving to Hashem? What am I not doing that I could do, and I'm holding back? And its connection to Pesach, because also Yetziat Mitzrayim wasn't an easy thing for the Jewish people to do. Hashem had to literally take us out of Mitzrayim himself. And it says that Hashem said, nobody else will go, I will go. Because even a malach wouldn't have been able to get out of Mitzrayim with us. This is something that Hashem had to like come and take us himself. And this whole idea of doing that work, does that resonate with you guys, of having to really work hard to earn that Yeshua from Hashem, but not working hard just physically? It's on an emotional level where we're bound to like so many things that are holding us back, and letting go and having trust in Hashem is a lot of work, because if you're not, and even when you do it on a regular level, I've had my own share of experiences and many stories that I've shared that I was tested in so many ways. And I still have moments where I'm being tested. And I still ask, like, why does this have to happen? And you would think that by now you would have full emunah that everything, and you do. But even with all that emunah, it's still sometimes very difficult. And, I was just recently in Israel, and there was something that happened that I thought that was very, very interesting. I was supposed to take a train to Naharia, and I was in Kfar Chabad. And as I was going to the train, there was like literally 1 minute before the train was leaving, and I was literally right there. But I had a rental car with me, and I had to like park it. And like for 10 minutes, I'm looking for parking, I can't find. And usually I find very easy parking. So eventually I found parking, but by the time I found parking, it was literally 1 minute, and I needed like at least 2-3 minutes to run back to the train. And I missed the train, and I stood there and I said, wow, I missed the train. And I'm not there for a long time, so that means that every hour I'm losing is meaningful. So I said, okay, but if I miss the train, Hashem has something in mind for me. So I said, okay, what am I going to do? I have 1 hour exactly. So I went to 770 in Kfar Chabad. And as I'm standing there and I'm decided to read Tehillim, I see from the side of my eye, this lady comes in, and she's coming in, she's looking, and I see she's looking, and I'm in the middle of davening, so I couldn't stop. But then right away when I finished, I like looked at her and I said, can I help you? And she said, yeah, I came here. I want to daven. What do I say? What do I do? And I realized that she really needs guidance. So I gave her a chitas card and I explained to her what it is. And then I showed her the Tehillim of her age +1. And I showed her the Rebbe's Tehillim and the Rebbitzin. And I told her a little bit about, 770. And I spoke to her a little bit. And then I said, I'm going back to Crown Heights. You can give me a letter if you want for the OHEL. So she wrote a letter and she gave it to me. And she had a question. So we opened the Igris. And then she tells me, I'm a designer. I make jewelry. And she gave me like this beautiful ring that she made. And she gave me her phone number. And this whole conversation, and I realized that, she came there looking for something, looking for a Yeshua, and somebody told her, come to Far Chabad, come to 770. And it's beautiful that a Jewish person, she wasn't religious, and you could see that, she's secular, but such a beautiful neshama. And she's looking for connection. And somebody told her, go to Far Chabad. And it's beautiful that a Jewish person is always looking, is always searching for that connection. And today, I see that a lot of people really connect to this idea that the Rebbe can connect them to Hashem, or getting a blessing from the Rebbe can connect you to Hashem. And I just found it beautiful that when a person makes that effort and wants to get connected, Hashem helps them by sending the right messenger to help them. And it's not a coincidence. You see it. You see that I missed a train. I could have gone anywhere else. I could have gone to get coffee. I could have gone to buy something. I could have just waited there. And I decided to go to 770. What put that idea in my head? That was Hashem. And he was worrying about this one child of his that wants to connect. And that was beautiful. And understanding that and having bitachon that Hashem is with us, and that everything that happens to us, even if we like it or not, is guided by Hashem to help us in that connection. And having bitachon in Hashem is Yetziat Mitzrayim, because it really takes you out of the in Hebrew it's migbalot. In English, I would say that it's the boundaries that you feel sometimes that you have to, that you're in. But really, when you have bitachon in Hashem, you realize that you're beyond that, and everything that happens to you is guided, and you are walking through a path that Hashem has chosen for you. And I saw that right when I came back. So I came back, and yeah, I had my share of experiences, and I usually leave my car by the Ohel. So I go to the Ohel, I put my suitcase in the car, and of course, when I was in Israel, I asked everyone to write to the Rebbe. So I randomly go to people, like let's just say I was in Misrad Apnim, I needed to fix my passport, my Israeli passport, and I'm going there and I'm giving the lady a chitas card, and she's looking at the picture of the Rebbe, and she's like, "Who is this?" I'm like, "This is the Lubavitcher Rebbe," and I'm explaining to her who he is, and I told her, you can write to the Rebbe, and everywhere I went, I explain to people and connect them to the Rebbe, because through the connection to the Rebbe, they start connecting to Hashem. And it's beautiful because we saw that just now in the Parsha, in Parshat Pekudei, where the Mishkan doesn't stand up, and Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, touch it and it'll be lifted. And then Moshe Rabbeinu blesses all the Jewish people, and because he saw they did the work well, so our blessing goes through the Rebbe, and it's beautiful to connect people to the Rebbe. So anyway, I'm going back to the story of coming back, and I go inside the Ohel, and I bring this like 50 letters that I brought with me, and I'm like, I can't believe this. I'm so tired. I'm going to read all these letters now. So I just flip through it quickly. I say the person's name and the name, like the name and the mother's name. I flip through if I see like any special bracha, it could like stands out. I need this, I need that, I know whatever. I do that, and then and then I rip it and then I throw it. And I did that with every single letter, and it took me like a nice hour or so, and I was already like tired. And of course I don't remember who it was because I meet so many people. I don't know who wrote this and who wrote that, so it feels very like I just want them to get the blessing. And I throw it in and I put my own letters, and because when I was in Israel, I reported the Rebbe every day, what's happening, what's going on. So I had a lot of letters. And then I come out and I'm like exhausted. I made myself soup and I'm sitting there for 2 minutes. And then I see a lady and I see her taking pictures of the Rebbe. And I'm like, do you want me to take a picture of you next to the Rebbe's picture? So she's like, yes. So I took a picture, and then I'm like, what's your name? It's your first time here? She's like, yes. So, she also looks secular. She doesn't look like she's Chabad. I said, who told you to come here? So she's like, my sister, she's Chabad. She told me to come here. I was like in a conference somewhere, and she tells me to come to the Rebbe. She told me so many times I had to come to the Rebbe. So I said, do you know where to go? She said, no, I've never been here. So I start telling her, like, at first I'm like, okay, take her out there. And I'm like, no, maybe I can guide her where to go. So I'm telling her, if you go here, this is the Rebbitzin, this is her grandmother. And I'm like, Sheli, come on, she's not going to know where all these things. You have to take her out there. So I'm like, you know what? I'm coming with you. I'll take you and I'll show you. And then once we're by the Ohel area, I'm gonna leave you there. She's like, oh, thank you so much. And so I took her out and I spent like maybe 40 minutes with her, and it was very meaningful. And I realized, it doesn't matter if you planned on it or not. Hashem planned on it, and that's what He wanted. No, but like, look, it's not like I don't have those moments where I'm like, I'll hand it to someone else, but there was nobody else there that I could ask them, like it's a lady. So you want to be able to, I said, maybe I'll see somebody that I know, whatever. And I said, you know what, it'll take another half an hour from my end, another 40 minutes, but Hashem brought this my way. You're going to say no to Hashem. You know what I mean? It's like, Bezrat Hashem. So I ended up like getting out of the Ohel so late. I'm like, I can't believe this. I landed at 11. I'm out of here at like 4:30 or something. Whatever. What? No, it was yesterday. No. It was in the afternoon. Yeah. Anyway, it was like it was interesting. And I said to myself, this is also connected to Pesach. Like people are looking for connection. And this is the work. Our job is to look for connection. Is to look, what can I do to connect? What can I do? We're busy cleaning the house and we're busy, but we also need to clean our neshama. We have to understand that why is it such a big thing for us to be reminded every single year and every single day that we have to remember that we came out of Mitzrayim. We were in such a Tumah level that we didn't realize what Tumah level we're in, to the point where Hashem Himself had to come down and take us, like I mentioned before. And that's a very big thing. So Hashem recognized that He has to take us Himself. And, I also thought about it. There was this story that I read to the kids a while back about this man that comes to a rabbi and he asks him a Pesach question. He says, can I be a yotze on the Pesach Arba Kosot if I drink milk? And the rabbi right away opened his drawer and he gave him all the money he had. And the man left. And then his wife heard from the side what was happening. And she told him, why did you give him money? He just asked you a question. And he said, somebody who asks you a question about milk, instead of being able to have the Pesach Kosot, then they don't have money. So you don't wait, you just give it to them. And we give money for Pesach much before the holiday starts.
There is more to that story that he said that the fact that he wants to use milk means that he obviously doesn't have money for meat.
Yeah, he doesn't have, he realized he doesn't have money to do Pesach at all. So that means that if he doesn't have for meat, everything, the full thing. So he gave him a lot of money, and that's why his wife was asking him, because she knew that a lot of people come to him to get money before Pesach. So now he's giving this man so much money, he's not going to have so much money for the rest of the people. So she was worried about it. She said, why'd you give him so much money? He just told you about the money. So you say he probably doesn't have money to do anything because somebody's asking you about milk. But the point was, it's beautiful that the rabbi realized it, so the person didn't have to ask, but it's more than that. And I was thinking, on Purim, for example, we give money that day. For Pesach, we try to give people money, people that need money or big families that have a lot of children. You want to give it much before. Even organizations that collect money, they try to collect money much before Pesach to give people. Why? So people can really buy everything they need for Pesach much before and truly prepare for Pesach. And again, why is this preparation for Pesach so important? And again, it's bringing me to this idea that I wanted all of us to connect to on a very personal level, that inner work that we have to do for Pesach. So it starts with the physical things where we clean the house. And, sometimes even when you clean and you just throw things, you feel better. So it's like the outer that affects the inner, but that inner work also needs to be done. And there's so much emphasis on properly celebrating Pesach, that each and every person can feel that they are bnei chorin, that they are free. And again, it's connecting us to bitachon in Hashem, because bitachon in Hashem is freedom. And I don't know if like anybody wants to share something, but like this could also be a Farbrengen where you actually like we could share stories. And sometimes we really like there's a lot of stories to share about freedom, about feeling freedom. You want to say something?
This idea of like bitachon in Hashem is freedom. It's very like I think maybe the sound of it could sound like lofty, but it's actually extremely practical, because if you're relying on, like, if you're putting your trust in any entity, either it's like money or the final say goes to the doctor or like anything like that, then it's very, very stressful, because you're like locked into something and it's kind of unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly.
But if it's like, I'll do my part, I'll reach out and I'll take medication if the doctor or money, I'll get a job or whatever. But ultimately, I'm trusting in Hashem, then you have a freedom of just like, I'm doing my part, but Hashem is in charge.
Exactly. It relieves you because you understand that we're just players in the game. We're not calling the shots. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, Hashem will bless you. You know, we're saying it every morning when we say Shema, and before we go to sleep. You know, there's a sicha that I looked into. It was a bilti muge sicha from Yud Aleph Nisan of 1976. It was a tashlav. It was 1975, 1976 that year, and the Rebbe talks about Pesach being Rosh Hashanah LaRegalim. Like, what is so important about Pesach? And then he says that the tuma of the Jewish people was so deep at that time that Hashem himself had to, that's where I took that idea from, that Hashem had to literally come and take us out of Mitzrayim. And he said that something that I felt was very interesting, that he said that we had to have Mesirut Nefesh to earn Hashem coming down to bring us. And what was the Mesirut Nefesh? Is that we had to believe that Hashem will take us out of Mitzrayim. And taking the sheep and bringing it to and giving the Korban Pesach, and all that was testing us to see if we are if we have that Mesirut Nefesh. And with Mesirut Nefesh, when you do this kind of Mesirut Nefesh, you also earn yourself Yeshua that's above nature, a Yeshua where Hashem comes down to take you. And that's what the Rebbe was trying to show in this in this explanation, that when you do in Hebrew it's called dilug, but in English I can't say it's a skip, but when you kind of do something that is beyond your regular effort, and it's something that is beyond your regular limits, then you earn also a Yeshua that is beyond regular limits. And I actually thought about something that happened to me a few years ago, bless you, where I was doing all kind of chinuch projects. And I ended up with very little. What happened?
I thought we were watching her cry for 3 minutes.
So I was thinking of a story where I had this like bitachon and mesirut nefesh, and like, you know, that I really like was able to see that Hashem coming down to take me. And I had many stories like that, but one like recent story was like literally like I think 3 years ago. I did a lot of chinuch projects that year, and I really had like no money left, like no funding. I'm always living on the edge, and you know, I always have this emunah that Hashem will bring something and it'll bring in money. And I was like to my last savings, like literally, and my grandmother wasn't feeling well. So I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to visit her, and that's it. It was my last, like literally my last money. And I was like, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. I'm going to empty my bank account and I'm going. So I ended up going to Israel. And at that time I was thinking to like open a preschool, whatever. And I was looking at all kind of like ads and stuff like that. And nothing was really pinning out. And I said, okay, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So I go to Israel, and then on my way back, I look at like all kind of like messages that I'm getting on the phone, and I see this like ad somebody wants to sell like a preschool. Okay, so on the plane, I pay for like Wi-Fi, whatever. So I see all these messages, and I message her back, and I say, I see you want to sell a preschool, whatever. Where is it? What is it? And I ask her all these questions, and she's answering me. As I land and get to the OHEL, I see my messages coming in, and she's answering me. And she says, I'm here in Israel now, and like we could talk, like maybe you could come to me. And I said, okay, like I'll come to you like tomorrow, whatever. And she says, yes. So she says, yeah, no, I came back and I went to the OHEL. And in the OHEL, I saw her message on the plane. And then I wrote to her. And then when I landed a few hours later, like 4 or 5 hours later, I went to the OHEL. And in the OHEL, I see the message that she answered me back. And I thought that she apparently was in Israel, but she came to America. And she had a business here, whatever it was like a complicated story. So anyway, she's texting me back and she's saying, we can meet tomorrow because I'm only here for a few days from Israel. And I told her, oh, I just came back from Israel. And we started talking and we scheduled for the next day. And the next day I go to see her, and apparently she tells me the whole story that they had a preschool in New Jersey, and she left to Israel and they need help and this and that. And it's like major help. It's not like little help. It's like major project. And I'm like, I don't even know if I can like do this. This is something that's going to require research and this and that. And she's like, whatever it is, give me your price. And I'm like giving her the price. And it was like, mamash, like, because I knew that it was like not a regular job. This is going to take a lot of driving every day, a lot of like running around to offices, a lot of physical work with the school, with the kids. Anyway, we work out something, and she, in like a few minutes, in like an hour, literally, she sends me a down payment to my bank account, which inflates my bank account back up. And it showed me that, I went to Israel with knowing that I am emptying my bank account, and I am doing, whatever Mesirut Nefesh I had to do. No. We ended up doing something else. We ended up doing, it ended up that she really, and in the beginning it sounded like she wants to sell it, but it really needed something else before that. So when I understood that and she understood that, we worked out like some arrangement where first we do the first step and then we would talk about the next step. So the point was really is that when you do Mesirut Nefesh and you really trust that Hashem will help you, then that Mesirut Nefesh earns you that interference from Shemaim that is beyond regular interference. It's beyond the standard and regular level of just helping you out a little, And this is what is Pesach is all about. And the Alter Rebbe explains this in the Tanya about this ma'avak of the nefesh elokit with the body, and it's a everyday battle. And this idea of coming out of Mitzrayim, it's a battle that we have to battle every single day, because every day we are in this place where we find ourselves in this place that you are a slave to something without even realizing it. And when you don't realize it for a long time, it could become a habit. So we have this Pesach once a year where we understand that this is the time to try to really deal with it. And how much of this year, it's a cheshbon nefesh, just like we do on Tishrei. This is now the same thing. It's like you do a cheshbon nefesh with yourself. What am I enslaved to? And this is also connecting to Rosh Chodesh Nisan, because the Mishkan in Parashat Pekudei, we talk about the Mishkan, and the Mishkan was actually finished in Kaf Chet and Kislev, and they didn't really use the Mishkan until Rosh Chodesh Nisan, because Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu that you do Chanukat Habayit in the time that there's a lot of light, that there's a lot of that is a special time. That's when you do Chanukat Habayit. And in Chodesh, and what did he mean when he told them that? In the month of birthdays. And who do we have? We have a lot of Tzeddikim's birthday in Nisan, and we also have Yitzchak that was born in Nisan. And it's very interesting. So here, what I noticed about it is that not enough that Hashem wants us to do this cheshbon nefesh with ourselves and to take ourselves out of Mitzrayim. He made sure that we have assistance from Shemaim in a month that helps us. Also, the power of the month helps us do this work, helps us have Mesirut Nefesh. The idea that we were able to do this Mesirut Nefesh in Mitzrayim, and we were in such, now think about it, if we were in such Tumah, why did we listen to Moshe Rabbeinu? Why did we do some of the things that we did? We could have just not listened at all. But it was in a month that gave us the power and the ability to be able to take ourselves out of our regular selves and do things that are considered Mesirut Nefesh. And because of that Mesirut Nefesh, we earn Hashem's guidance. So in this month, we also have the ability to make changes, the ability to, from Shemaim, we have that ability because it's a special time.
So let me see if I'm understanding. Basically, the idea is that we have Mesirus Nefesh and we give more, then Hashem we're making a keli for Hashem to give us even more above and beyond.
Yes.
And the connection to the month of Nisan is that in this month, we have so many birthdays and holy opportunities.
Exactly.
We have extra class to go above and beyond. Am I understanding?
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Very.
And I thought about it already when I read about Parashat Pekudei, and it was interesting to me. What happened? I'm reading to the kids at Parsha, and I'm reading to them that they finished the Mishkan in 3 months. And then I'm saying, like, if they finished it in 3 months, why was it only used in Rosh Chodesh Nisan? Like, it can't be. So then I realized that there was Hashem waited. You know, Shlomo Melech also waited with Beit HaMikdash. He had the same thing. He waited because Hashem told him to do the Chanukah Habayit in the month that has more light. It's a very, very special and specific time, and they explain. I heard it from one of the, not Y.Y. Jacobson. I heard it, I think, from Rabbi Ashkenazi, where he said that a special month that the Hashem meant was the month of birthdays, where there is a special light, where special neshamas come into the world, and it makes the whole month much more. It brings it up. It's higher. So it's interesting.
A natural nutshell for that is like springtime, the time for planting. If you plant in the winter, I've done this before. I was like, I'm gonna get plant things inside, and they grow so slowly. If you plant them in the right time, they just so that's and that's Nisan also. That's the time for planting things.
So interesting. And the reason I mentioned this is because I really want us to come out with like a practical message. You know, sometimes we hear things and we read these lofty things, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this now? I don't want to deal with this. And it really, I feel really that before Pesach, it's really a time to really look inside and look at the things that we're struggling with and things that we really want to change, and try to see that we're not here alone. We have something bigger and higher than us helping us. So why don't we at least make the effort, take the first step? You know, how many times in life you see where you make the first step and then another step brings another step, and then after like a few years, you're like, you did something, you're like, how did I do this? If I knew that this is good, I would never do this, but look what I've done. Even to yourself, you think about it. So this is the same thing. You have here an opportunity to reflect in and to see, what can I really change that's bothering me, that really is going to make my life a little better, and it's going to make my connection to Hashem better. Because at the end of the day, really, when we are connected to Hashem, we're living our fullest potential. And the less connected we are, the harder it is. You know, when you have sometimes like hard moments or hard mornings, and you track back, why is it so difficult today? And then you realize, I didn't finish davening, I didn't even start davening, I didn't do this, and I didn't do that, and I didn't give tzedakah, and I didn't. And I went to sleep too late, and I know I shouldn't go to sleep too. You know, all these like little things that you say to yourself, if I had a little bit more commitment to my connection to Hashem, then I would feel so much better. And we have to understand that this is where I think we go wrong sometimes, where we think it's an option. It's not an option. Because when it's an option, it's like, okay, so I don't have to do it. But when you don't do it, you really don't reach your full potential. And you know, think about it. Look at the Parashat Pekudei. What is Parashat Pekudei really? In the beginning of the Parsha, they talk about all the stuff of the Mishkan, where all the donations and everything that was given, where it went. It's like a full report. Because what happened? We don't read it right away in the Parsha, but like if you read the Perushim and explanations, you see that the Jewish people came to Moshe Rabbeinu and said, where did all the money that we went to? We want to know where everything went to. They're coming to Moshe Rabbeinu and telling him, we want to know where everything went. We want a full report of everything. And Moshe Rabbeinu was very humble and he had no problem. He said, okay, they made a full list of everything, where everything went. And they're reading it to the people. This amount of money was donated for this amount of money was donated for that. And you see, when you look at it, if you're wherever a business owner or anybody that deals with giving reports to people and having to organize financials and things like that, that being organized like that, it's very important, because or else you can forget, where did that went to? Where did this money go to? How much money did I spend on this project? You need to know how to budget yourself. So I think that this organization is also very important in general, because everything we read in the Parsha, it's a message to our life, So at the end of the day, there's nothing to be upset about. You need to really make sure that your life is organized in some kind of way, that you can track what you're doing. And for us, the message is that, am I doing what I need to do? And what else can I do to be able to give this report to myself even? And that's, for me, what I feel like some of the message of Pesach is about, that we really, it starts with the outer cleaning, but it ends up with the inside, the digging inside. What can I do to earn that interference from Hashem to lift me up to the next level? And I thought that was that was a point that we should think about this year and see what we could do. And it doesn't have to be so many things. What can I do to take out myself out of my own Mitzrayim? And each one of us has something that, when you, at the end of the day, when you think about your life, you're like, I wish I could change that. I wish I could deal with that. I wish this would be a little better. And it could, because we are Hashem's children and we have so much that we could do. And I think that we should, every Pesach, you should try to utilize that before Pesach, 2 weeks, 3 weeks before Pesach. Think what you can do to improve that about your life. I think that's, anybody want to say something? Come on, share something.
I was thinking, anything that is rooted in security, really from the Nefesh HaBehamis, right? Because Mitzrayim is bound. I can't do anything else. I can't be anything else. What are people gonna say? All these things. It's really from the Nefesh HaBehamis, which is there for your survival. So it's I want to protect you from your ego getting hurt, or from it's for protection. So anytime that there was voices like that, they were like, I can't do this, I can't be this, I can't add in this. That's from the Nefesh HaBehamis. And then when it's a voice of I can't, I'm able, I'm capable, is from the Nefesh HaLekis. It's not afraid. It's not trying to protect you from anything. And that's really the voice that is breaking out of Mitzrayim, is the voice of I'm able to do more.
I love that. Wow, relatable and empowering.
My husband was recently, he shared this publicly, that's not sharing, but he was saying, my husband was saying that he was telling a bunch of, he was at a Farbrengens with a bunch of men or bachrim, and he said to them, my Nefesh HaBehamis my Nefesh HaLekis wants me to be rich. And they were like, what? What are you talking about? And he explained exactly what Gilula just said, that it's his Nefesh HaBehamis that's is telling him, no, stay safe. Don't do anything that's beyond. Don't push yourself. Don't go do this particular, my husband fundraisers. So don't make that ask. And it's that self-protection that that doesn't serve us, that doesn't push us to reach our fullest potential. And his Nefesh HaLekis says, no, I know you can do this, and I believe in you. And not only that, but by doing this, by having more, by fundraising more, living Chassidus can reach a whole other level. And as Hashem in our house very soon. So this is it's his Nefesh HaLekis that wants him to be rich, and it's Nefesh HaBehamis that doesn't. And it's such a shift once we know which voice is speaking.
Yeah, it's the Chassidus Yetzer Hara.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, I'm learning Torah right now. I don't have time to go help someone. It's like, especially if no one else is able to do it, that's not your Yetzer type. Or,
I'll share with you something very, very personal, and that put me in a big test. And I think that it humbled me in many ways and made me realize that we are here to serve Hashem, not ourselves. And I think I've been put in that test so many times, but this year was really, really, really much harder. But I eventually I accepted it, and I realized that it's really interesting. Um, so I got a letter from the Rebbe a few years ago to take out to get my professional certification. And in the beginning, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I don't have patience for this. Too much. And then I got the same letter again, where the Rebbe says, you need to get your professional certification. It's going to help you in many ways. There was a lot of details there why I need to do it. When I got the letter the third time, I'm like, okay, this is like he wants me to do this. It was like, no, it was literally in 1 year. I got it like throughout 6 months. I got that letter 3 times, and then and the last 2 times that I got it was a month apart. Like meaning it was like I read, and then a month later again, and that's when I'm like, okay. By the way, when I happened to me also when I was working in that preschool in New Jersey, that I got the same letter 3 times, and that was the letter that directed me what to do. And I just thought that it was too hard to apply in the beginning when I read it. But I knew at that time, I knew that if the Rebbe wrote this letter to me, like there was something. I just didn't know what to do. And then when I got it the second time, I took it more seriously. I still didn't know what to do. When I got it the third time, I realized that this is the only way to get it done. And when I really thought about it, I found a way to apply what was in the letter. And when I did, that's how I solved the problem. So it was like amazing. I know that when I get like a letter like that and it comes up a few times, there's mamash a directive there. Anyway, so 3 years later, okay, I have my degree and my master's in early childhood and special education. Yeah, from years ago. Yeah, I did it when I came to America, like the first few years. And that's it. Okay, so I got it. And then I'm like, okay, so what do I do with this? Like I've spent most of my years being a preschool director or doing like big projects, but directing preschools and not just like working with one child, one class. And then I'm realizing that the degree that I have, you could be a director, but you could also work with kids one-on-one. And I'm not like really, I felt like I'm used to like running like a business and running around and doing this and doing that and jumping from place to place. And all of a sudden I'm finding myself like getting all these kind of offers for like just working with one-on-one with kids. And also because I finished my degree like in the middle of the year. So I was like very busy and I couldn't like really take on like a directing job or whatever because it was like going to school full time and I was doing my own projects. Also, it was just too many things. So in the middle of the year, you don't get like this big directing jobs, like or whatever it is. So I was like thinking, what am I supposed to do, whatever. And then I got a few like cases working with children one-on-one. And in the beginning, it was like really, really hard for me. I'm like, this is like, what is this? And I asked myself, like, why would Hashem like put me through all the things I went through, have all this experience, and then I'm like working one-on-one with kids, and it's like I could like whatever I'm teaching just one kid, I could teach 10 kids or 20 kids. Like it's like such a myth. But I said, no, this is like, this is what Hashem wants me to do right now. Why am I like trying to figure it out for Hashem? And then when I came to that conclusion, I stopped fighting it and I'm like, stop looking for something bigger. When Hashem needs you to do something bigger, he calls you to do something bigger. When he wants you to do this one thing, then you do this one thing. You are a soldier in the army of Hashem. If he wants you to go to Israel now, then you go to Israel. If he wants you to go to, Miami, you go to Miami. If he wants you to be in Crown Heights and work in a school that is a little different than what you're used to and is not Chabad, but it has one child there that Hashem wants you to work with, that's what it is. And why am I like trying to switch Hashem's plans for me? Is there anything separated from Hashem in the world or anything that happens to us? No. It's like saying Hashem doesn't know what's happening with me. He knows exactly.
I think it's hard though, because the Rebbe always said, I'm not satisfied, and the Rebbe pushed for more, and that we should be doing more, we should be doing bigger. So I think it's a little bit hard to.
Yes, yeah. It's a little. But then when I came to terms with that, all of a sudden, Sheli, can you take on this other kid? Sheli, can you take us this other kid? Sheli, can you take this other kid? And then all of a sudden, this other company, can you take on this kid? These two twins in the afternoon, can you take on? And I realized that Hashem was just waiting for me to accept it, and then He wants to show me something bigger. And sometimes, just so you know, a lot of the things I see from the side of my eye a lot of things. Like I see this in that class, and this in that class, and this in that class. I'm saying, why did I just see this? And there's a lot of things that you don't realize sometimes. That sometimes when you're somewhere, just by being a chassid of the Rebbe, and just by being a child of Hashem, and having the knowledge and chinuch that I have, and conducting oneself in that manner can affect the whole school. And I realized very soon why Hashem is doing it. And I should have trusted from the beginning that there's a reason for that. Because I know already that from the minute that I took on being a Baalat Tshuva and going in this path, and on my own learning about chinuch, it wasn't like really that somebody said, Sheli, you have to do this. I just realized that I have a job and I need to know more. And I started to look more and to find work and create work. I literally create work that I don't have to do. I get up in the morning with some crazy idea about chinuch and I just like do something to do it. I don't have to do it. Nobody's telling me, we'll pay you to do this. I just do it. So knowing all that, I realized that at this point, I should already trust that everything that happens is, just like when something happens to me randomly and there's a delay, whatever, and I know that there's a reason for that, and why did I share with you this story? Because this is Yetziat Mitzrayim, that we're used to having things be predictable. And when it's not predictable, we're not comfortable. And Yetziat Mitzrayim is not comfortable. It's not comfortable. It takes you to places where you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where the food is going to come from. You don't know where the water is going to come from. They went into the midbar. They got scared.
So ironic, because you would think that if you're stepping into freedom, that it would feel amazing, because freedom sounds great. It sounds so fun. So like, I understand what you're saying. It's just like, it seems very contradicting to what we usually perceive freedom as.
Yeah, exactly. Like we perceive that freedom is gonna like, okay, but it's not, because at the end of the day, we're looking for something very structured. We think that we want the freedom, but when we do have the freedom, you have to also have the kelim to deal with it. So when you have bitachon, then it makes sense, because the freedom has a keli, because it's like you trust that Hashem will help you.
Hashem's freedom.
Yeah.
Not our vision.
Exactly. But what you really need to work on is bitachon, because bitachon is freedom. And that's really, I think, the bottom line of it. When we really think of freedom and, working towards freedom, you have to have bitachon with freedom. Because or else it's just like not,
Yeah, imagine for them, they were comfortable in the discomfort of, what's the trying.
210 years, I'm saying.
Yeah, like that's all they knew. Right. And then to come out, and not even that, but it's so funny. My husband and I have this argument sometimes of like, you're so whiny. Like they finally got taken out. Now Hashem's giving them like man, but how terrifying must that have been? Like, and then it's like now the water is bitter. Like how much more so, like I feel like we bitch about things like, oh my gosh, we're so spoiled, but I think we live through that as well, of like, it's not, in a certain sense, our version of freedom is still constricted. There's so much more that we can accomplish and so much more that we can reach, but we just have to push ourselves or allow Hashem to take us to a point out of our comfort.
You have to understand though that it doesn't that bitachon and reaching freedom is it's not easy to get there because it requires, like, that's what I was trying to get to, that it requires a lot of work, and Hashem does this to us so we can really enjoy the freedom when we have it. So for example, right, they were coming out of Mitzrayim, they went through so much, they saw all the makros and everything and this and that and Korban Pesach, and now they're believing, they want to get out of there, and they're coming there and they're getting to the water like, what are we supposed to do? And then you have Nachshon ben Aminadav going in, but it wasn't that he was just going in, he was choking already. It wasn't like that he was just going in nicely into the water opened up. No, it was on top of his head, and only when he was like willing to like truly go in, then the water opened up. It's not, sometimes Hashem brings situations to us to make us stronger. I had so many situations in my life where I literally found myself on my knees crying, just like, I can't take this anymore. And only then, when I was willing to just like, to let go of everything I know and to go in Hashem's path, did he show me that there was a merit in all of that. And it took me years to come to terms with that because I didn't have the knowledge or the experience or the emunah and the ptachon that you need to have. And in order to have that, Hashem really took me out of Mitzrayim in such a way that I had to like go into situations and it was over my head already, and only then things opened up. And it's beautiful to see that, because when we see in the beginning, when we experience, we're like, why are they doing this to me? I don't want this. I don't want. But once you go through it, you realize why all these things were done to you, because it was to get you stronger, to get you to have bitachon. So now when you have a second situation, whatever, like, oh, okay, I know already. This is going to get better, and you know already that this is, now it's hard, but soon this is the way that I'm going to get something new. It's just like when you're, sometimes even like think about it, and like just like you simplified it with planting, right? Think about it very simple. Like if you buy a lot of clothes and there's like no space in the closet, you're saying, maybe I can give this old clothes away and this thing away, I'm not using it or whatever. You start realizing that also to get something new, you have to give up like the old ways, the old things, the old, you have to like replace it with a new idea. And this is what coming out of Mitzrayim is.
I once heard that the whole idea of Mitzrayim is, I think there are like a lot of people say Mitzrayim is this, and like there's a lot of explanations for what it really means. I once heard that it means it's about confusion, that Gullus is all about confusion, and like Ula would be like clarity. It's just like, I don't know, so many stuff flying around my head.
Well, I think like the Rebbe said that that especially this Gullus is kaful u'mefutelas, right? I think that's the word. And the Rebbe said it's so dark in this Gullus that we have, which I think this idea is so powerful. It's so dark in this Gullus that we have confused darkness with light and light with darkness. And the Rebbe actually referenced, like, that's a sikha that the Rebbe is talking about feminism, and the Rebbe is saying like that people think that they are freeing women, but in fact they're actually like, I don't know exactly the words, but the idea of like they're actually just basically making them have to be men, right? I mean, that's not exactly what the Rebbe said, but I know for a fact that the Rebbe said in that sikha that people think that the women are not being treated right or whatever it is, and they're confusing darkness with light and light with darkness. Yeah, so I mean, I don't. You said because Mitzrayim is confusion and Geula is clarity, and I feel like that's very much
right.
what the Rebbe said about that.
Sure. What I was thinking was like what you were saying, like how do you know what is basically this point? Like what do you know what is darkness and what is light? Like you were saying that you need to like, in order to make space for something new, you need to throw out old stuff, right? Like how do you know what's good and what's not? How do you know what you're supposed to keep and what you're supposed to give away? Like it's so confusing. It's just like,
so let me give you an example. Like if you're not, everything that we have, like think about it. Everything we have, we need to utilize. If you're not utilizing, what's the point of like holding on to it? Like holding on to what? If you could give it to someone else and they could use it. So you also did a mitzvah. Think about it. I deal with a lot of organization all the time and spaces and stuff like that. Like if you're not using it, if you're not utilizing it, then give it away, you know?
But I'm talking about something deeper than that. I'm talking about like what the like the nimshal was. Like about
For
like,
yourself?
our belief system. Like of like what about the way we are now, like should we keep and what do we need to change? Like it's just like
If something is helping you and making you do more and is moving you forward to a place where you can help yourself and help others, then it's something that you should keep on doing and even develop. But if something that you're doing is making you feel tired and unsatisfied and just confused, then something needs to be changed. Do you understand? You know how sometimes you do something a few times and you're like, it's not the result that I'm looking for. And you know, but you're not sure what to change. But if you really, really think about it, you'll figure it out. What is not being done right. So this is the kind of thing, is like things in your life or the way you conduct yourself should bring you to a better place, you and the people around you. And if you are not feeling in a better place, if you're feeling that something is wrong, then most likely something is wrong, and you need to work on that, and you need to like sit with yourself and figure out what is it in this thing that you're dealing with is making you feel like this. Do you understand? I'm it depends, because I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm just trying to like give you like
I just feel like it's very much. I feel like the idea of Mitzrayim being confusion. I feel like that's very true. Like it's so not black and white. It's so hard to really know like what you need to change and what like there are certain things that society says, right? And everyone's always talking about, yeah, society says this, society says that, and really it's not true, right? But I'm sure there are a lot of things that are good. And like it's so hard to know like
this is why the Rebbe gave the directive that we should all have a mashpia, that helps you make these decisions, and whatever they tell you is also coming from Hashem. So it's like, it's very important to have a mashpia and to discuss this with someone, and to have, when you have a problem, to be able to discuss it with someone to help you in the process of realizing what you need to do. It's never good to just rely on yourself. But also, you need to think about it. Also, some of the things that bring us into a place of mitzrayim, to a place of being like stuck, is also the way we perceive certain things. So sometimes you might perceive something as let's just say difficult or negative, and it's not. It's just the way you're perceiving it. And maybe if you would think about it in a better way or a more positive way, then it would have a different result for you. You understand? So it's also sometimes our perception of things is very, it's not objective, it's very subjective. So that's also that's why it's good to have a mashpia, and then you can discuss that, and then they kind of like gear you back to where you're supposed to be, because this is not an objective way to look at it. And then if you change the way you think about something, it could really change the outcome. So sometimes the change that we need to make is not a big change, but it really requires some work on our end also to come out of our comfort levels, where we have to kind of like change the way we think about certain things. And in many ways, I thought about it that we're all kind of like Baalei Tshuva before Pesach, because we really are like we need to do the work of like giving up a lot of things that we live by, because we're realizing that they're bringing us to a place of being stuck. And we really want to do a tshuva, and we really want to become closer to Hashem. And through doing that work, which is not comfortable, which is going to bring the waters over your head, and only then the water is going to open up, that's what's going to help you, get to a better place. But I do suggest that a lot of inner work with yourself, even sometimes writing down the things that are bothering you and looking at the way you're thinking about them, and having a mashpia and discussing these things with someone outside of yourself, to be able, and that has that knowledge and the right tools to help you bring yourself to a better place. But no matter what, it's a discomfort in your neshama. It's not a comfortable place, because if it would be comfortable, then it wouldn't be Yetziat Mitzrayim, and you have to consider that you might have to bring yourself to do things that are not so comfortable and that are not in your habit, to do. But changing the way you do things sometimes might be hard in the beginning, just like learning a new skill. But then later on, you realize that that skill is so helpful and it's making your life so much easier. So it's just some things and points that we could think about before Pesach.
I was actually, sorry.
Well, I was just thinking, is it possible that you're also asking, how do I know which thought processes and which mindsets I should keep and which ones I should let go?
That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay, so I think like exactly what you were saying, is it something that is making me do more and it's making me happier and more confident and feel more connected to Hashem? Or is it making me feel like Hashem doesn't like me and like I can't do anything and bad about myself? So I think those are very good barometers.
You're really wrapping that mindset that you spoke about before about the Nefesh Bahamas being the one who's telling you can't do this, you can't do that. I see your, like, I think that's
Well, for me, it's also
Like
Muslim
Zelle.
versus Chassidus
right.
in a very, like, yeah, where it's like, whatever. Chassidus is very empowering and it's very much like pushing you to do more, to go forward, to think of yourself positively. And I think that those kind of mindsets should be kept if they are productive.
I read we'll end with this story. I read a story to the kids on one of our Shabbos. It was recently, like I think 2 weeks ago. Read a story about someone who used to give tzedakah. It was a rabbi that a lot of people used to give tzedakah to him and to his family, like for him to give out to others, and also to his family for the advice that he used to give them and things like that. So he had a gabbai that's taking care of all the money things, and the gabbai really needed some money to come in for the rabbi's personal household, because they had a lot of expenses also and stuff like that. So he was praying that someone will come in and give to that gemach, because they had a gemach for like evyonim and people that need, and they had the gemach for the rabbi and his family. So somebody comes in and gives like a really big amount to the rabbi's gemach, and the gabbai is like so happy, Baruch Hashem, will be able to pay the bills, bless you, and things like that. And then somebody very poor comes into the rabbi and speaks to him and tells him all the stuff, something difficult that he's dealing with. And he tells him, how much money do you need? And he tells him an amount that it's exactly the amount that somebody just gave for his family. And he is thinking, okay, somebody came in today and gave money. We should give all this money to him. And then the minute he thought about giving the money to him, all of a sudden he had other thoughts. And then he said, oh, but maybe I could take this amount and give it to like 10 different people, because 10 different people need money, and then everyone will get a little bit. But then if I do that, this man is not going to solve his problem, because the reason he came to me is because he has so many little problems, and he really needs that whole big amount to solve all these problems. He started to have all this dilemma. He said, what am I supposed to do? Like he was thinking, what is the right thing to do? And then he realized, when did I start having all these second thoughts, what I should do with the money, is when I decided to give the money to the guy that needed it. So he said, that's the Yetzer Hara. When you try to do something, then he comes and he tries to gives you all these ideas if you're helping other people, but you're really not going to solve the problem. The first idea was to help this poor man that needed the money. I have this amount of money to give him, and that's where it needs to go. And he realized that everything else was the Yetzer Hara. So when you want to do something, or you're trying to do something, you have a lot of doubts, then you know that sometimes it's also the Yetzer Hara that tries to come in when you're trying to deal with something, and the answer to it is so simple. So sometimes all these other voices is the Yetzer Hara. So that was like the point of the story.
Absolutely makes sense. I heard that when after the times of Ruach HaKodesh, people didn't even bigger Rebbeim didn't have Ruach HaKodesh anymore. They had something, I forgot what it's called, but so the first thought that enters their head when a person comes to see them, that would be the answer for that person.
Yeah.
So it could be the same kind of
idea. Yeah. So you'll think of how you can apply that to yourself also in the meantime, but it's there's a lot of ways to go about your question, and there is no right and wrong answer, but we should just do the utmost ishtadlus that you can. And you know, sometimes it's also nice. I spend every day, and I heard one rabbi says that he does it every night. He reads 3 letters that the Rebbe wrote, answered to people. It's nice to read the Rebbe's answers to people. I just like open up almost every day 1 or 2 letters and just see how the Rebbe answered people about all kind of questions and all kind of, and it really helps. And sometimes I feel like throughout the day when I have certain questions that I remember one of the answers that the Rebbe gave someone, I said, okay, you know, this reminds me of that. What would the Rebbe say about that? What would the Rebbe answer me about this? And, you know, I remembered the letter that he wrote to someone, and I said, okay. So it also helps come to conclusions and just guidance for yourself.
The thing is that I'm very cautious of Rebbe letters because I once read a Rebbe letter. The Rebbe actually wrote this, that nobody should take something that the Rebbe wrote to a specific person as that's what he meant for everyone, because the Rebbe tailored specific answers to specific people. And the Rebbe himself said that. So that's why I'm very wary of like taking a Rebbe letter and applying it directly to my life.
Not just specific answers. If you look at I don't know if you ever saw the book, the Positivity Bias. It explains how the Rebbe thinks and how the Rebbe approaches situations. And just by reading that book, you really start to understand what is being positive mean, how every situation could be looked at negatively and how it could be positively. So any situation that one person could look at it and say, wow, this is going to ruin my whole life. Another you know, like the way the Rebbe looked at it is like, this is a step up, you know, say l'chaim. So basically, when I'm talking about reading the Rebbe's letters and answers, is to look at the general tone of the letter. And yeah, and the way, and the way he broke down people's, you know, for example, one letter recently that I heard about is that somebody was saying to the Rebbe that nothing is working his way and everything there's no brachas in his life and everything is like so bad and he doesn't understand why Hashem is treating him this way. And the Rebbe says that you have a family. Some people wish to have a family. You have children. Some people wish to have children. And you have no akarat tov for what you do have. And so how can you recognize other good that you have in your life when you don't even say thank you for the things that you have? And that's, when that's, for example, I'll give you how you can utilize this letter. So let's just say you're having like, I don't know, financial problems or emotional problems, and you're looking at this letter and you're seeing, you could think, maybe I do have good things in my life and I just have these 2 things that are not resolved, but I have other things that other people don't have. Do I take my time to say thank you about these things? You know, Rabbi Kotlarski's wife spoke in the Kinnis of the Shluchos this year, and she said that her husband heard something from the Rebbe about saying Hineni levasel tov, and after that he changed the way he did his reports, and he used to use the words Hineni levasel tov. And this is also like when we write things or we think about it, we should first think to ourselves, how can I levasel tov first before I complain about, the bad things? And that's also part of coming out of Mitzrayim, of seeing the things that we could levasel tov aleim, and not just the things that are not working out. And once you start doing that, it also changes your outlook, and you're able to point out things in your life that are good. And that in itself changes the way you think. And so when I refer to the Rebbe's answers, I'm referring to the general tone and the general way that he answered people as guidance for us how to live our lives. Okay, everyone, happy Pesach. And may you have a lot of courage and ability to do the work needed to come out of Mitzrayim.
Amen.
Everyone's been like, leave slowly.
Can we do what?
Selfie.
Oh, sure.
Before.
Before,
like, everyone.
in the, if you guys want to join, we'll do a selfie over here. I wanted to say thank you. And I know you go to the Rebbe so often, and you take so many people to the Rebbe. So I wanted to give you a
Wow, I
memorizing
love this.
and a phone wallet. If you
Wow,
want to keep
I love phone wallets. Ooh.
it also is a stand. So
Oh wow, I love stands. I was like, why is this bent a little bit? Now I get it. Thank you. Wow. Yes, for sure. We should have it here by the Rebbe's picture.
I'll take your
Your leash.
I love this. This is so good. I need to get that.